So let's jump in today. AI is a fast moving target. It is absolutely the hottest technology out there right now. And it excites me every day because I plug into a couple different resources around AI, and it's moving at the speed of light. I think in the last 2 weeks, every large language model out there dropped some form of a new model that's available for all of us to use. And so there's always the new, the exciting, what's next, et cetera. But I think it creates a set of challenges. It creates a set of challenges for us. It is a little bit of a shiny object. There are a lot of things constantly hitting us with AI, and feel free to drop in the chat as we go to Mike. If folks are asking some questions, if you could just interrupt me and let me know as we're going, I'd love to answer some of those as we go. We'll do some Q&A at the end as well. But this AI as a whole, for me, when I talk to real estate agents out in the field, and I'm working with lenders and working with our title agencies across the Mid-Atlantic region where I primarily sit, it becomes apparent that we're looking for something to help us for sure, but there's a lot of lack of direction in what we're actually using it for in our business. So as we go through today, I'm going to try to bring you some very specific strategies that we can use that'll help guide us as we look for the right AI tool. So here's what we're going to go over today. I do want to hit on where we're at today. I think it's important to understand where we are, where we're going, and how fast it's moving. We're going to discuss the next wave of AI and where we think it's going, and what you all should probably be paying attention to. We're going to talk a little bit about where we should use AI. So what areas should we use it in? And I believe there are some areas we should not be using AI in our business. And then we're going to dive into some practical. So that's the agenda for the day. We'll wrap with some Q&A and have a good solid 15 minutes or so here to go through this. So without further ado, let's jump in. All right. This is a little bit of brain food for all of you this morning. This is a little bit of a roadmap. If we look at the history of artificial intelligence from when generative AI was a theory in 1956, all the way until today, this is kind of the roadmap, and some terms I think are important for us to understand. The first one here is ANI, artificial narrow intelligence. Just to cut to the chase, this is where we still, as a whole, with the field of AI, this is where we are today. Narrow intelligence. What does that mean? Well, it just means that the AI we're using is trained on a certain set of data, and it really can't go outside of that in different channels yet, right? So you might say, guys, ChatGPT, I mean, that does a lot. But if in theory, it only operates within the scope of the internet and everything it's learned from the internet and where it's been trained. So it's still narrow, even though it's a very wide, narrow channel, if that makes sense. The key thing I want to point out here is the leap to artificial general intelligence. This is absolutely the holy grail of AI. This is where all the tech companies are trying to build a safe, ethical model for general intelligence. And if we were in a group together, I would ask all of you, what's the difference here? What's the difference between narrow intelligence and general intelligence? The best way I can describe it to my mom when she asked me that question is, hey, Mom, you see your chair over there? It's broken. The leg on it is broken. So right now I can take a picture on my phone of that broken chair, and I can send that up to ChatGPT. And I can say, hey, ChatGPT, what is this and what's wrong with it? And it's going to say, well, that's a chair, but it's broken. It has a broken leg. And I can say, well, what do I need to do? And it would say, well, it looks like this chair was this make and model, and it probably need to go to Home Depot, and you need this and that and this part, and you would fix it. Okay, what tools do I need? Well, you need this tool, you need that tool, et cetera. So right now, any of these large language models can give us the exact steps, the parts, the model numbers, whatever it might be, to fix something or to analyze, to break down. It can tell us exactly what we need to do. But what can it do right now? It can't actually get up and do it for us. So the key here with general intelligence, that is what AGI is. This is the robot. It's the actual AI assistant who can get up and do for you, not just comprehend and understand and help you reason. So right now we have these strong language models. They'll help us reason. They'll help us understand. But all of them, they can't get up. They can't transform into something and do the task for us. We still have to put in the elbow grease to do that. If you go right now to YouTube and search AI robots doing various tasks, you'll see a lot of Tesla robots out there doing things, talking to people, serving drinks, snowboarding. A company called Figure One is building these right now. I do believe in the next 5 years, we'll see AI robot assistants that you can buy for $15,000 to $30,000 that'll do your laundry, get your groceries, and whatever else, maybe to cook you meals. So that's kind of the future where we're headed. And then the super intelligence is, I think, universally by any AI expert, really where we don't want to get to. That would be where the AI can communicate on its own. We can't control it, and it would be able to, in theory, take over and run things. A little bit of Terminator level stuff there if you're a fan of those movies, but we're hoping we don't get to that point. But that is the roadmap. That's where we're at today. We're right in between this roadmap here of narrow intelligence on the way to general intelligence. I think we'll achieve again sooner than later. So sounds awesome. I don't know about all of you. I think someone doing my laundry, cooking my meals would be awesome, but some people find that proposition a little bit scary. So how does it relate today? Well, I just think it's important for us to understand this quote. This was a friend of mine in Silicon Valley was meeting with some guys that develop AI, and this is where their brain is at right now. So AI today is roughly equivalent to the mid 1990s of internet. So if you were around in the mid 1990s like me and you were getting on the internet at that time, it was pretty wild how slow it was and how long you had to wait for things to happen. And so if you extrapolate that in our brains, AI's capabilities right now are pretty mind-blowing, and we're not even scratching the surface of what it's going to be able to do. The reason I throw this up there for all of us is if you are on the fence with leaning into and learning about AI, this is my clarion call to all of us to lean in, to find ways to start using it in your business, because it is a time save and efficiency hack. There are things I'll show you today where you can apply it to many aspects of your business. And if you don't lean in today, and the folks around you are leaning in today, you're going to quickly become, I would say, light years behind where the technology is moving, and it's only going to slow you down. There's a big debate out there, will AI replace us? And it used to be like, well, no, people who use AI will replace those who don't. I believe as a real estate agent, that quote is still true. Real estate agents today who are using AI in their business consistently, not just as a shiny object, not just as my Google search function, but those who are figuring out how to use it to build systems and processes will absolutely outpace the real estate agents who are not, if you're using it smartly and efficiently. The whole conversation of will it replace us eventually? Maybe. But I think society has always evolved around technology, and where we feel like we've been replaced, we've developed other avenues of work and methodology. So the history will show that out every single time. So lean in today. If you take one thing from today that you can do and you can roll with, go roll with it right away. Don't wait. Take action today. It's all about executing with it, because it is moving fast. So again, don't get left behind. I wanted to hit on this real quick. This is pretty cool. And feel free to drop in the chat or raise your hand or whatever if you've used this. Some of the AIs out here are developing what are called computer using agents. So OpenAI actually has launched this. It's available for public use. This is $200 a month. So, and it's still beta. It's still in like learning mode. So it's not an investment I recommend now. But essentially what happens with a computer using agent is you would prompt the AI, for example, hey, could you go find me a hairstylist and make me an appointment for 4 p.m. on Friday? And it would actually go open a browser window and run through, control your mouse, control your computer, go book that for you. It would go find, based on your parameters, what you're looking for. Think about booking meals, think about doing complex tasks, maybe building a formula in an Excel. These agents are going to be able to take control and do that for you based on a prompt you give it. So this is the next, the next wave. I would say most of our large platforms, like OpenAI, ChatGPT, we'll probably have a fully functioning model like this by the end of this year. I would project. So just keep an eye on that. At the $200 a month price point, and I've tried it. It's still a little clunky for more complex tasks. I would say wait until this is proven a little bit more, but keep an eye out for those AI agents and what they're going to be able to do. All right, let's start making it practical for real estate. If you guys are on your phones or computers, please make sure you're muted. There we go. I'm back. Thank you, Mike. So let's talk about easy buttons. This is where we can get caught up, and this is a little bit of mindset before we get into practical. I was speaking to a couple folks who run a council for realtors up in Maryland the other day, and they were asking me to come out and speak about AI. And we got on a preparation Zoom, and their ask was this: hey, Andrew, we were talking to a doctor the other day, and the doctor has it set up on their social media where when they get someone reaching out to them on social media or via email about their services, there's actually an AI that will respond to those folks in the message thread and will help them qualify people. And they'll qualify leads for the doctor before they ever get to the doctor. So can you come out and teach our real estate agents how to do that, how to respond to messages and how to, set these things up for their social media, for their emails? And if you're on this call and you're like, oh, that would be cool, I want to ankle break a little bit with that. It's exactly what I did with these folks. I said, hold on a minute. What business are we in at its core? What business are we in at its core? We are in the relationship business. We are here to be belly to belly with folks, to build relationships with our database, try to have as many sales conversations as we can have to generate business. And so I told those folks, I said, listen, that's not going to be me. If you want someone to build a system where it's going to interact with your customers for you and it's going to have conversations for you to qualify leads, that's not something I'm going to help you with, because it's against the way I believe we should be using AI in real estate. And here's what I mean. We all have opportunities every day to go engage with our database. Sometimes those opportunities are limited. So as a real estate agent, if someone's reaching out to me about my services somehow, that is a moment that matters, That is 0 moment of truth for you to build a relationship. So if you have an AI plugged in to have a standard conversation, probably number one, most folks can tell they're interacting with an AI. Number two, none of us have enough volume of people reaching out to us where practically we need an AI to respond for us. And so don't look at anything we talk about today around AI as an easy button to offload the relationship. What we need to be looking at AI as very practically, what is the work that's keeping me at my desk? What is the work that's keeping me behind my computer? What is the work that is taking me the most time in my business that's prohibiting me from picking up the phone and reaching out to clients? That's keeping me from going on social media and sending DMs to my past clients. That's keeping me from going out and actually meeting with people. How can AI help me eliminate some of that behind the desk, behind the computer screen, busy work that takes hours of my time every week so I can go focus my time on what matters most? And that's the relationship. So a little mindset for you there. Don't try to replace your conversations with your clients with AI. I would caution against that because it's not the business we're in. We need to maintain the relationship. We need to maintain it. All right, let's keep it rolling. This is the key for any large language model that you're using. This is the key to effective use, where you don't have to spend minutes, if not hours, going back and forth with an AI, trying to get it to be exactly what you want. If you've used AI at this point to write a listing description, for example, which many of you have, it probably, if you just put in there, hey, write me a listing description for 123 Banana Street, it's probably made up some stuff that you needed to correct. It's probably not been 100% accurate. And I see this most when we use a very simple written prompt. We have to understand that in a very simple explanation of AI, it is thinking like a human brain with context, with the ability to go execute on tasks if we're more clear with it. And if we talk to it like it's a computer in bullet points, it's going to lack some of that context. If we go to it and just say, hey, I need you to create something for me without giving to it first who we are and what we're about, we're essentially just being a parasite. That's why I have a mosquito X'd out on the screen. A lot of people go to AI right now and they're just taking. Hey, write me this, write me this, write me this. I would like to challenge all of you. How many times have you actually given more context, given a personal story, given some sort of descriptor with your voice to AI that it can then use to turn around and create the content for you? So if you're able to right now, I would ask all of you to do this. If you have ChatGPT on your phone, take it out and go open a new chat. I'm going to give you all a few minutes to follow along with this. Open a new chat, and in that new chat, write a prompt like this. Hey, ChatGPT, what's something you know about me that I might not know about myself based on all my interactions with you? So I'll say it one more time if you're typing this out. Hey, ChatGPT, tell me something about me that I may not know about myself based on all my interactions with you. Just give that a whirl real quick. I'll give us about 30 seconds to play with that. Let me know what well, you might not be able to let me know, but I'm going to assume you're all going to look at that and you're going to be like, oh, wow, that's pretty cool. Now, this is if you've been using ChatGPT heavily, it's going to be better. It's going to give you a pretty good idea of who you are. Faith, Mike, Alex, did either of you do that?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's name something about me. Say it one more time.
Yeah. You can say, name something about me. Tell me something about myself that I may not know based on all my interactions with you. So I want to pull this out because this is a pretty cool concept here. It's going to tell you something about yourself, and you're probably going to be like, oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, that is who I am, right? Like, that's a little bit about me. So here's your first hack in prompting. Every AI platform has a microphone. Hit the microphone and talk, don't type. Every time you prompt, if you can, hit the microphone and talk. And number two, to avoid having to iterate back and forth about what it is you want, just say, hey, ChatGPT, I need you to write a listing description for 123 Banana Street and read off everything about it. Here's all the specs so that it's very accurate. It's going to take you 30 seconds to do. And write this in my tone based on everything you know about me. So in prompting, if you get good at saying, hey, write this in my tone based on everything you know about me, it's going to eliminate so much of that iteration back and forth because it just gave you a pretty good idea of who you are based on all your conversations with it, right? So if you can do that, it's going to save you time in the iteration. So first prompting hack, tell it to write things like you based on what it knows about you. This will save you time and use your voice. So a little pause for questions. Were there any questions in the chat? I need to find the chat first and foremost. And Mag, anything in the chat to answer? Faith, anything you want to add at this point?
No, I think it's interesting how you prompted us to ask ChatGPT. It'd be interesting to hear what others have to say about what they pulled up.
Yeah, for sure. It's a fun exercise to go through. And the flip side of this, and this has gained popularity since I started talking about it. So you all may have heard this, but next time you're out for wine with friends or something, ask ChatGPT to roast you as well. It's kind of hilarious. You can have some fun with that. It'll do a pretty hilarious roast of who you are. So again, this is true for any AI model. It has a pretty good idea of who you are based on the types of ways you interact with it. And the more you use your voice to prompt, et cetera, the more you're actually going to and I'm looking at the chat real quick, but you're going to see it actually start mirroring more of who you are in your content if you simply just prompt it that way. All right.
Which is important because Tim, as you mentioned, or excuse me, Andrew, as you mentioned at the beginning, is we are in the business of relationships. And so utilizing AI to show more of your human elements as it relates to utilizing robots in our business, I think it just adds that little, icing on the cake or cherry on top. So thanks for sharing that.
It's so true. And if you are using AI to write articles for you, to write your social media posts, the big tip there is A, start talking to it. But B, inject your own story. Stop just saying, hey, I see real estate agents use it for writing articles all the time for their websites, for their LinkedIn, top 3 places to go take your kids on a weekend in my city, right? People can read that and tell pretty quickly that AI generated it. And matter of fact, Google and other platforms are starting to actually look through content for it from an SEO standpoint to see what's been AI generated versus what hasn't been. AI will do a nice word salad. It sounds really nice, but it lacks a lot of what makes you, you. And so, one of the hacks I taught for a long time is go let it tell you the top 3 places, but then you need to inject yourself there. So hit that microphone button and say, oh yeah, so for the first place, I remember when I took my wife here for a date, here's why we loved it. Here's what the food was like. Here's what the ambiance was like. Just tell it your context for those places and let it rewrite the article or rewrite the post with your stories embedded, if that makes sense. So even if you're using it for basic writing stuff, don't just have it create it for you. Give it more of you and your story around it. All right, I want to hit on a few very specific things, and I'm going to ask y'all, if I toggle my screen here, can you all see this? Can you all see ChatGPT now? Is that?
Yes.
Cool, awesome. All right, so a couple things I do want to point out. The first thing on there is opting out. A lot of folks ask me, Andrew, is all my stuff saved? Like, does AI, is it private? Is it safe? I'm not going to spend too much time. Essentially, you should have an account signed in. Use logic and common sense with the things you upload into an AI system. But in theory, if I give it my name and address, no other user is going to be able to go and say, hey, ChatGPT, what is Andrew Hooper's name and address? So they do have a privacy policy. They are a reputable company. You need to do this based on your own comfort level, but also use a sense of logic. So I wouldn't be throwing up social security numbers or anything like that into an AI, but I think for things that are normally pretty accessible out there, like names and addresses, I think you're okay. But if you are a little bit more of someone who's sensitive and you want to use it for some of its efficiency, but you don't care that it really memorizes a lot about you and you don't care about that, you can opt out from having your information used to train the algorithm. And the way you would do that is right here through your account, settings. You would go into data controls, and right here where it says improve the model for everyone, you can click that and turn it off. The con to that is after 30 days, all your chats will auto delete and it will not really remember who you are, but it will be able to handle a lot of the tasks you ask it to in the moment. You're just going to have to probably prompt it a little bit more to get it narrowed down to what you want. So that's the first little piece there from a technical standpoint. If you wanted to know, ChatGPT will let you opt out. I want to talk a little bit as we talk. I'm going to toggle between some screens, so just bear with me. We talked about what it knows about you. I had you do that activity. I want to show you and just talk through a couple of these voice features. So the first one, and this is a very practical hack. Faith, anyone on this call, have any of you used this voice mode here? If I'm hovering the voice mode. You can raise your hand if you've used it. Drop in the chat if you've used it. Unfortunately, since we're on Zoom today, I would love to demonstrate this, but I can't because I'm using the microphone, so it won't come up and talk to me. Can't do multi-use. We love tech, but in this environment, it's tough. But here's what will happen. If I click on this white button, it's going to load just like a blue bubble right up into my screen. It's going to be like an assistant. I can have a full-blown conversation with the assistant. If it's talking back to me, I can interrupt it. It's going to interact with you just like another human being. And I really wish I could demonstrate this. But here's a very practical strategy and use for this function. How many of you, after the NAR settlement, you were like, and it hasn't changed too much, I know, with commissions, like we just looked at the numbers, but a lot of folks are now focused heavily on, hey, I need to go out and be better at becoming a listing agent. I need to kind of start developing my skill. And it's a different skill for sure than being a buyer's agent if you've historically been a buyer's agent. So, well, what do we all have to do when it comes to sales, like sales practicing? Like we all got a role play, right? And I have a lot of agents that are like, man, I want to reach out to FSBOs. I want to reach out to, like folks that I am not super comfortable having this conversation with. And we sometimes have a tendency to practice on our customers. And with sales, I say, you know, you need to a little bit, but sometimes it's not great. So my practical use here is use this voice mode and simply say, hey, ChatGPT, I would like to role play with you, and tell it to act in whatever role you're going to be calling, right? Whatever script you're about to use for whatever type of client. Say, hey, I want you to pretend like you're a for sale by owner client that I'm calling as a real estate agent, and I want you to be tough. Like, I don't want you to give me any breaks. I want you to be a real, like, gruff, tough. I'm going to sell this thing on my own. I don't want to pay anybody money to sell my home. And I'm going to practice my scripts on you. And it'll say, great, go ahead whenever you're ready. And it'll have a full blown role play with you. So one of the most effective uses of this voice mode right here is, yes, use it to prompt. But this one specifically for role playing, amazing. The other thing that's not here that we can see when we're in our app. So again, I asked you all to pull out your app. You all notice that on your app right next to this white bubble, you'll see an actual microphone. That is what I would use more often than not to actually prompt. So when you're talking about prompting with your voice, right here in this section on your phone, you're going to have that microphone. Hit that and use that instead. Which leads me to strategy number 2. And that is a virtual sales assistant. Now, when I joined this Zoom here today, I noticed a bunch of people had R.O.I. Awesome. So it's recording for you. It's going to take all the notes on everything I'm saying. It's going to summarize it for you. That's awesome. But here's the real of what happens. How many of you are effectively able to go to a meeting with your client and use R.O.I or pull out your phone and record the conversation for a summary? You might do that, but if your client knew you were doing that, most clients would probably frown upon that. I know a lot of folks now who even in Zoom meetings settings will remove AI assistants. They don't want another platform listening to the conversation. Kind of depends on your client, depends on your comfort level. So these AI meeting assistant summarizers are great. One I heavily recommend and I use right now is called the Minutes app. So if you want to check out a new one on your phone, it's called the Minutes app. Does a pretty phenomenal job. But there are moments, and most of the times we're in client-facing meetings where we're not going to be able to pull out our phone and say, hey, can I record our meeting with AI to summarize it for me? It's just not going to go over very well. From a sales perspective, I wouldn't recommend it. So a little bit of a grain of salt here, but how many of you are like me and you run around all day and do a lot of meetings and you're on the road and you're traveling between open houses, you're going to listening presentations, or you're meeting with a client over coffee? Like, we're doing all these things and we wrap up the day. And how many of you are religious? You go home and in spite of your kids needing food and the dogs needing to be let out and everything else going on in your life, you jump right in your CRM and you put all your lovely notes from all your meetings for the day. Like, if we're in a room, I'd have you show your hands, and no one would, because I don't do it either. And you know, we get done with the day, it's Friday, we had 8 meetings between Thursday and Friday. We roll into the weekend, we get back on Monday, we sit down to do our follow-ups. And normally we can remember like the top 1 or 2 things that we needed to do for all those clients, but we forgot so much that they told us. And so this strategy is what I like to call present me, taking care of future me. And it specifically has to do with using the voice features, using the microphone button on your phone. So what I would do is I would go in and I'm gonna open this chat for the sake of time. And you guys can screenshot this, take a picture of this prompt, whatever you want to do here. This was just me talking the other day because I train on this. But it says, hey, ChatGPT, I'm going to use this chat as my virtual sales assistant. Every time I get done with a client meeting, I'm going to come to you and I'm going to brain dump everything we talked about. I want you to organize it for me like this. Tell me who I met with, where we met, and why we met. Then I want you to tell me anything I need to do as a follow-up, and then anything the client needs to do as a follow-up out of the meeting. Then I want you to put any personal details I learned about them, and then anything miscellaneous. And because I'm in sales, I'd like you to give me a couple questions I could ask them in my follow-up to either challenge them or move them forward in the sales process. Can you do that for me? It responds and says, yes, I can. So what I did over here is I built this sales meeting recap system. This chat is now trained to be my sales assistant. So every time I get done with a meeting, I'm going to jump in on my phone, go to this chat, click on it. I'm going to hit the microphone button on my phone and just talk as long as it takes. Hands free if you're driving, it works. And just brain dump everything we talked about in that meeting. This is, again, present you taking care of future you, because in the history of this thread, I will then have every meeting recap throughout the day that I had throughout the week. And so if I'm circling back on Friday, it's as simple as coming back into this chat and scrolling down and reading all the recaps. And the beautiful thing about it is it structures your brain dump, no matter the order you bring things up, into whatever format you wanted it to format it for you. So this right here will save you a ton of time. And it is, yes, I'll put this in the chat for Mark. Let me copy it if I can here. Oops. This will save you a ton of time and truly ensure that you're not forgetting any details. All right, there you go. There's the prompt in the chat for all of you. Now this is mine. And guys, I did this prompt just by hitting that microphone and talking. So again, if you know what it is you want to know coming out of a meeting, just hit that microphone and you don't have to have it scripted or anything. Just, I don't know, maybe I want to do this, maybe I don't. Like, it's a human brain. So talk to it. Think of it like a human brain. That's the best way I can tell you to prompt it. Just be yourself in talking to the chat. All right, so that's strategy number 2 with the microphone. So the first one is use that voice, that white bubble to role play. use the microphone to brain dump sales meetings, and you can extrapolate this out any way you want it for anything in your life. Use your voice. I do want to talk really quick about reviewing and comparing documents. I think this is heavily underutilized, specifically with ChatGPT. It was built originally as a large language model to analyze a lot of data. So this one was born out of necessity for me. I have a friend who is a real estate agent, and we were supposed to be going to do a wine tasting. We love to do wine tasting. So we're at their house, and they're pouring. We got there to go, and they couldn't go. They're like, "Oh, we just had a listing deadline, and I need to compare all the offers I got. It's going to take me probably about 45 minutes or an hour just to go through, look through everything, and put my recommendation together for the seller." So while she was doing that, I just said, "Hey, can you send those to me? Would you mind? I just want to play around with this." So this was a real scenario. So I asked the chat this. I said, in this chat, I'm going to give you 3 offers for one of my listings as a real estate agent. I need you to compare these 3 offers and tell me which is the best from a fiduciary standpoint for our listing client. Do you understand this request? And it said, I understand, go ahead and provide them. So I simply uploaded the PDFs. So if you don't know this yet, this plus button right here, where you can upload from your computer any document, a PowerPoint, an Excel, a PDF, a Word document, whatever it is, this is a power use for any of your AIs. It can take those large amounts of data, compare, and or just simply break it down and summarize for you. So it looked at all 3 of those offers. It broke them all down after reviewing the 3. Here's the first, here's the second, here's the third. All the major points about financing, deposits, purchase prices. It gave an analysis, said that this one here, the third offer, has the highest price, but it comes with a significant contingency related to the sale of the buyer's current home. So again, it's reading those documents. And then I said, based on these offers received, write the recommendation for the offer being number 1. And it wrote a recommendation. And I said, great, can you put that in a Word doc for me? And if, again, another little tip here, it'll put things right into a Word doc, a PDF, a PowerPoint, or an Excel for you. You just have to ask it to. And it'll give you a link. Again, this is expired because it was a while ago, but it'll just simply download. You click the link and it will just download the doc right to your downloaded files in your computer for you to use. Then I asked her some questions because the real estate agent's mind was blown at this point. She's like, I want to know about the inspections and stuff. So I just typed this question. I questioned it. It said, yes, they all include this. Broke it down. Then we got a 4th offer. So I just threw the 4th offer in and we reran the analysis. Ended up 4th offer was the best. We wrote the letter. Again, this took about 10 minutes total. And we had a recommendation ready to go at the end of the day. So this was offer comparison. And here's what I would say on this. Always verify the details because, you know, AI does a great job of looking what's in there and not making things up when you give it the data to work with. But you should always still double check. That's my first kind of caveat. Outside of that, this is a massive time save to at least get you the basics. You could very easily upload your spreadsheet that has your matrix that you normally apply to an offer and say, hey, do you understand what's in this spreadsheet? What am I looking at from a offers comparison here? Can you break that down for me in this chat and make sure it's accurate with how it breaks that down? Then you can say, great, now I want you to use that criteria in analyzing all of these offers. You could even upload pre-approval letters with it if you want to give it even more context of like who's the lender and all that, because we know that has something to do sometimes with how we accept an offer. So this is not going to be like a, oh my God, Andrew, like I'm going to do this tomorrow because maybe you don't have a listing. But the concept here is this: what large documents do you have to go suss through that take a ton of time away from your sales? I talk to agents all the time, like HOA docs. Your buyer's asking you, can I paint my house whatever color I want and can I hang a flag? Well, now you got to go read through the stupid HOA doc to figure out if they can do that. Well, no, you don't. Just upload it and say, hey, within this, is there any provisions around painting the house or hanging a flag? And is my buyer going to be able to do that? Oh, they can, but they need to write an approval letter. Could you generate me a template for that approval letter to the board of the HOA for approval? Boom, done. Put it in a Word doc. You now have something you can use in that HOA every time for your clients, right? So just start thinking how this can go for you. Large documents, you might want to make content. You get an industry publication, throw it up in here and say, hey, what are 10 things out of this publication I can make a short 30 to 40-second video about? So a lot of ways, the concept, again, using this to analyze and break down and compare large documents. Cool. So we're going to move on for the sake of time because there's quite a bit more to cover and I want to keep rolling. We'll skip through the rest, but you can screenshot this, creating documents I hit on, and then meeting research. If you can go into any of the AI platforms and say, hey, I'm meeting with Andrew Hooper from Fidelity National Financial. What can you find about the guy? Can you give me a breakdown, right? So from a sales perspective, you can go actually research who you're meeting with and see what you can find. Let's keep it moving for Gemini. How many of you are using Gemini? And I know, full disclosure, if we are on Google searching right now, we're all using Gemini at some level. But anyone on here using Gemini consistently more than just the Google search functions? All right, so here's why you might want to be. I'm going to toggle over. We're going to go right into Gemini if I can here. There we go. Let me start a new chat. I'm going to give you guys just a couple reasons why I like Gemini. Now, I do pay the $20 a month for both of these platforms, ChatGPT and Gemini. Real quick caveat for that. If you don't pay for ChatGPT, there's a substantial difference, even though you're using the same model and it can do a lot of the things I'm talking about, like no problem. There is a substantial difference in the output of response you'll get from a free account to a paid account. I think it's basically like it works harder for you if you pay. And if you don't, it's going to just give you kind of a standard response. So that's my one caveat kind of with the paid versus free for ChatGPT. With Gemini, though, in order to get access to all the various models, and this is really what I want to call out with Gemini for the sake of time, they have some really robust models, which is why I use it, but you have to pay to get access to these. So one of my favorites right now is this deep research. What deep research does is you give it a contextual, like, hey, I'm looking to research all the real estate market data for my county and my state for Q1 or for January and February of 2025 or Q3 or Q4 of 2024, whatever you're looking for. I really want to break down, average home price, this, and this. So you put some thought into what you want it to do. It doesn't just go read what it's already been trained on and spit a response. It actually takes about 20 to 30 minutes. You can leave, you don't have to wait. And it will go out and find every website it can find on any topic. And it will actually compile an entire report for you based on your prompt, based on 45 websites or 156 websites that it found. So it's actually going to go do all that research work for you, which helps to give a much more quality response than the other AI models that might just go browse one or two sites for you. So I love deep research with Gemini. I'm going to see if I can find a chat. I did this in a class the other day, and I'm just going to see here. Let's see. I may have it here if I can. Here we go. All right. So this is one that I did. We were doing a class up in Annapolis. And a realtor in the room said, I want to do a prompt, like I want you to prompt it around federal impacts to the housing market with the federal layoffs, because they have a lot of federal workers there. So it literally created, it went out and browsed, and I want to see if I can see the list here. Yeah, browsed all these websites and some YouTube videos, and it compiled an entire report of like what are the potential impacts. So just again, to show it in action, one of my favorite things, that deep research is pretty cool. The other thing, this one is another one I'm using all the time, flash thinking experimental with apps. So this reasoning across YouTube, maps, and search. So if you use this one, what you're able to do is tell it like, hey, I want to look up all the barbershops within a 2-mile radius of this address, and I want to find the ones with the best reviews. And this one will actually list out its steps as it goes. It'll say, okay, I found all these barbershops. Next, I'm going to do this. Next, I'm going to do this. And it will compile, it'll look at maps, it'll look at YouTube and Google, and it will build a really nice report for you for specific things around an area that you're in. So if this would be awesome if you're building like a list of resources for your clients to easily put together like a current and accurate list along with, business hours, ratings, and everything else. So it'll pull all that together for you. It's pretty neat. ChatGPT can pull a list for you, but what I found in using it, guys, it's, sometimes it's hit or miss. Sometimes the places it gives you aren't open anymore on ChatGPT, right? Because it's been trained up to a certain time on the internet, and it's not going actively to Google Maps and browsing. So one of the biggest reasons I recommend using Gemini is right here, number one, the Google Suite integration. Voice features are strong, and then the available research models. So you guys can screenshot this. We're going to keep moving for the sake of time. This is one that's a little newer, and I'm not going to spend too much time. I'm just going to tell you all about it. You should go experiment with this one. This is what's considered a closed-looped AI system. This is Notebook LM by Google. It is closed-looped AI. So what does that mean? What it means is it's not accessing the Internet of Things to generate an answer for you. It only uses the source material you provide for a chat. So let me show you. This is Notebook LM, and I've just started experimenting with this myself. Tim and I, my brother, who was on last month, we have a podcast, Hanging with the Hoopers, all about the attitude of leadership. If I hit create new here, it's going to first ask me this, add a source. So right over here on the left, we have sources. This source could be documents, it can be slides, it can be a website, it can be YouTube channel videos, it can just be simple text. But you have to give it a source, because anything you do within this chat is going to draw from that source to answer the question or to do a task for you. So that's what closed looped means. It's not going out to the internet and reading the entire internet to get you an answer. It's only going to draw from the source material you provide. This is super key if you have like from a company standpoint, if you're looking to make sure that your employees or your team is not using unapproved stuff. The closed loop allows you to give it the source material, so it's never going to hallucinate. It's never going to make up something that's inaccurate. It's always going to work off of your source material. So again, I'm going to give you a quick overview. It has some really cool features. If I go back and show you this Hanging with the Hoopers, I've given it just 3 of our podcast episodes, and it comes up with an apps like, now I can go ask it questions like, how should I handle, we talk about leadership, right? So I could ask it questions and I could make this model available to people who know Tim and I to say, hey, if you want to know what Tim and Andrew think about leadership, you can ask this model questions. Does that make sense? So we can start thinking through our brains, okay, if I have a lot of content out there that I've made, this is where I could give someone access to kind of pick my brain without me even having to be present. The other thing it does here is it actually will create an entire podcast for you based on the material. And I clicked this the other day. It might take a minute to load this for me, but it'll create two people talking about our podcast. And people could actually interact with it. Like you could have fake callers to this. Like people could call in and ask questions. Or real people can call in, or you can ask it questions, and the hosts will actually take those calls, AI generated, and roll with it. I think I shared sound. I'm just going to play the first couple seconds of this so you can hear how it sounds.
All right, so
Can you all hear that, Alex?
for this deep dive, we wanted to look at leadership, and
especially in a tough market.
Yeah, how to thrive, not just survive. And
right.
We found this YouTube podcast called Hanging with the Hoopers, and these guys are
they're great.
They're high energy.
Yeah, they're sales leaders, but like
okay, that's kind of stroking my ego, so I'm not going to let it play anymore. But pretty awesome. It took what we said in 3 episodes, and it's going to actually do a whole podcast on that now. So there's a lot of practical applications for this. The main thing is, again, kind of, if you have a specific task you're going to want one chat to do for you over and over, training it exactly how you want it, this would be where I would go right now. Close looped, give it the data, give it your content, and then use that chat for whatever purpose you've trained it for. Pretty cool. This is fairly new. I would say within a couple of months, it's really come on strong. And so it's one that I think I'm most excited about to continue to experiment with. We're going to keep moving again for the sake of time. How many of you on here have heard of opus.pro? I've talked about this ad nauseum for a while, but I want to just hit on what it does. This is kind of taking AI away from a large language model. This is not a text-based, and this is applying it to video. I'll just say it this way. If you invest and get on video for 1 hour a month where you sit down and either have a conversation with somebody, kind of like what we're doing today, or you get on a webinar and hit record and get a Zoom recording, 1 hour of video every month, Opus will turn into anywhere from 30 to 40 shorts or reels. So it'll actually watch the video, break it down, turn it into shorts and reels, fully caption it for you, and give you all the content you need for you talking about a topic for a couple months based on 1 hour. Let me show you it real quick. I think I skipped ahead in the slide, but I'm going to jump back over here. We're going to jump into Opus. I think it's, here we go. So here's how it looks. Once I have my video, I just put either the Zoom link, the YouTube link, whatever it is, right in here. And I hit get clips in one click. So I took one of our podcast episodes and I threw this in the other day. It's going to take about 20 minutes to do this process. And then you just click on the project. And it's taken a long horizontal video that we have on YouTube. And it's created all these shorts that we can.
If we're eliminating something, what do we replace it with?
Yes, because it's your mind's a vacuum, right? So I love that you talked about elimination. Let me talk about replacement. So
okay, so sake of time again, it's going to give you a score based on how it thinks this clip would do from a virality standpoint. You can still edit it if you want to make it a little longer or shorter. But a simple hour-long video. This video was 16 minutes, guys, and I didn't even count. I think that was 18 reels or 19 reels potentially that I could go use.
Great.
So this right here will supercharge your content creation. This is something I would take if you already have a YouTube channel or you already have long form recorded videos. I would be signing up for this yesterday and start throwing all those long form videos up into Opus, letting it create all these shorts for you. You get, I believe, a 7-day trial where they give you an hour and a half worth of minutes. These are minutes of total video time, so you can try it out. Of course, I use it all the time. For this many credits, guys, I think it cost me $114. This is 3,300 minutes worth of video editing. $114 for that much time credit. So it's very affordable. It's not a crazy amount that you're going to go spend monthly. It's not really a subscription monthly. It's a pay once and you get the credits. And yes, it does add those captions for you, Alex. So the captions,
I think one thing
you can format these. If you go home here, you can build templates. You can create a brand template where you have your specific captions that you like to see. And then the projects do expire. One thing to point out. So once you have it do something, you want to download all those shorts to your device before the project expires, because they're not going to store all those for perpetuity for you. So this one's super awesome. I know we're coming up to the top of the hour, so we need to wind this down fast. Here's 2 bonus tools for you. I won't demonstrate for the sake of time, but these are massive time savers again from a content. Well, one's a time saver, one is a little more fun. Captions app. If you're doing any form of short talking videos where you're getting on camera and talking to the camera for a minute or less, and you're posting those, you need the Captions app in your life. It will take that short talking video of you, unedited, and you open Captions app, hit AI edit, put your video in there, and it will actually crop it up, put captions, put B-roll, put everything else, and make it look like it's a professionally edited reel or short or TikTok in about a minute. Again, this is for short talking videos. The Captions app also has a teleprompter. So if you're using an app like CapCut right now, we don't know if that's going to still be around long term because of the whole TikTok thing. So Captions has a teleprompter. You can still do basic video editing in it. It also has something pretty cool. If you read a teleprompter, people can see your eyes moving. So when you're editing a video in Captions app, it will bring, you can hit the button that says AI eye contact correction, and it will bring your eyes back to the camera the whole time. So if you were glancing off camera, you didn't have that eye contact, it'll do that for you. And then finally, a fun one that I heard about this from my good friend Sam Trimble, who works with our company, and I've totally stolen this from him, and I'm talking about it now because it's cool. When I first heard it, though, I thought it was a little gimmicky. I didn't think of, but then I started actually leveraging it in business, and this app is called Suno, S-U-N-O. It creates music. So you can have ChatGPT write you a minute-long script, for example, about one of your listings, and then it would write that song, and you can choose, the Suno would write the song. You can choose any type of music beat format, country, pop, hip hop, whatever you like, and have it write a beautiful song. And these songs sound like they're, could be radio hits, right? You can play around and mess with it. At first I thought, okay, this is cool, but guys, sonic branding and sonic marketing is a thing. If you have a song written about your listing, or you want to have like a little jingle written for your voicemail, talking, like, you can apply this in business 100 ways from Sunday. Tim and I have had some fun with this, writing happy birthday songs for people. So we'll just talk to ChatGPT about all the wonderful things we know about, for example, Alex. And we'd be like, Alex, awesome. She's a leader in her field. She does this, this, and this. Write me a minute-long happy birthday song about all the awesome things about Alex. Then we take that script from ChatGPT, throw it into Suno, and put a style of music to it, and it writes this awesome personalized song for somebody. So there's a lot of ways we can start thinking, ooh, could I use music to my advantage? Because music's an emotional connector. So this was a gimmick for me at first, but I think there's a lot of ways we could leverage it. So with that, I'm going to bring this in for some questions if we have time. I know some people probably have to jump right at the top of the hour. Alex, Faith, Mike, I can hang out for a few minutes if people have questions they want to drop in the chat. Sorry, I am working from home, so if you hear the dog barking, that is the dog in the background. But I'm here. Any questions, any thoughts? I saw some comments in the chat. Mike, anything we need to address?
I already do hideous father and grandfather birthday songs. So I think that would be a big help. And probably my grandchildren would be glad to see that.
It's a lot of fun. So Suno's pretty easy to use. It's an app and a website. So again, check it out. It's fun. Anything else?
I think you addressed all the questions as they arose. But this is amazing stuff. I've got browsers open on all of these apps that you talked about, so can't wait to start using them.
Give it a whirl, jump in. I hope there's some ideas where we can take some of the busy work and make it streamlined and faster for us in our lives. Normally, again, the stuff we have to review and put together from a written standpoint takes a ton of time. Content creation takes a ton of time, and those are the two main areas I try to address today. So if you can leverage some of these in those processes and then spend more time getting on the phone, going out and having meetings in person, you'll get a lot more bang for your buck.
Andrew, what was the cost again for the
Opus?
Opus, yeah.
Yeah, so when you sign up, I believe they still give you 7 days for free, well, 7 days where you can use up to an hour and a half of minutes. And then for me, when I purchased 4,000 minutes worth of video time, it cost me, I think, 114 bucks. So you're not really subscribing monthly, you're just paying for a package of time that you can use. And they do have a way you can do it for free, but it would always have like the Opus watermark in it. And I would recommend don't do that, right? Because you want to have your brand. But that one alone, again, I tell folks you can create all those talking content you need for a month with just investment of 2 hours of time. And that would be an hour on video, recording a conversation, and then spending an hour throwing it up in Opus and actually downloading the clips and getting them ready on your phone where you can just post them. So again, super practical. That one alone, I have more content than I know what to do with, guys, because we have so many videos, webinars, things we've done. Like I have probably 800 shorts that I can just go back through any given day and then, post them if I want to. So again, just get in the habit of hitting record on your meetings, and those can turn into content with Opus for you in 2 seconds. It's wonderful.
And that's also an opportunity for us to leverage our businesses. We could share our different contents, as it relates to the real estate industry. I could send you some videos of what I'm encouraging or empowering in the real estate business, and vice versa. We could, post some of your videos and, generate business that way.
100%. And if you're scared to go it alone, just snag another professional in your sphere. We have great title partners with the team here. We have awesome home inspector partners. We have awesome, loan officer partners or other real estate agent partners that we work with. It's as simple as getting on a Zoom together and having a conversation and hitting record. That can get you started with a tool like this. That's all you need. Tim and I go into a studio sometimes, and most of the time we don't even do that anymore. So don't let the perfection hold you back from just starting to get on there and talk, and then leverage the AI to prop it up for you.
Thanks, Andrew. I appreciate it. That was my question. You just answered, I think, is, where do I just go and run and jump off the pier into the lake?
From a content perspective, you run and jump into making start with one long video and then go sign up for Opus and let it prop it up for you. Because I think for most of us in the past, the video editing piece is where a lot of us got hung up from a social content perspective. So what I found is if you get into conversation with somebody, it's a lot easier to actually make your points in conversation than it is to try to sit in front of a phone and talk for 45 seconds and get your point narrowed down in 45 seconds. So if you just have a conversation that's recorded, Opus will do the hard work of getting those 45 seconds put together for you in a way that makes sense, in a way that you can easily put out there, and it looks like it was done again professionally. Matter of fact, a lot of video editors I know, they use this tool for their clients, and some of them get mad at me like, don't tell the real estate agents. I'm like, no, man, I'm all about abundant mindset, right? Like, this is a tool that's super cost effective and supercharges content creation. So go have fun.
Andrew, do you have a format or anything for asking for permission? Say, if you're going to say, hey, I'm going to record this, is this okay with you? Is that kind of how you do that? Or do you?
Well, I would plan it.
Writing?
Yeah, well, I would plan it. I would not record with a client, ever, because again, like that could be, unless it's a real good client who maybe like an investor or something, they're okay.
Yeah, maybe somebody I've known for a couple of years.
Yeah, I would just have a real conversation. Hey, listen, I'd like to take some clips from our conversation and use it in my marketing. Are you okay with that? But I'll be cautious with clients. I would recommend you schedule it with somebody who you respect in the industry, even if it is a client. And you could tell ChatGPT, hey, I'm going to get people on a Zoom to interview them and talk to them about our industry. Can you write me a nice little invite email explaining what I'm trying to do and inviting them on? So you can have AI help you with that invite process. Awesome. Any other questions before we wrap today? And I'll get over to this next slide here. If you all want to connect with me, feel free to scan the QR on your screen. I'm happy to connect with you. That links to my landing page. So whatever platform is of your choice you like to connect, feel free to choose that. But thank you all for having me out for Ignite Monday today. I appreciate it. This has been fun, and hopefully a couple nuggets for all of you.
Great job, Andrew. Thanks
awesome.
a lot.
Thanks so much.
You got it, guys. Take care. Have a great day.
Thank you so much, Andrew.
You got it.
Have a great week, everybody.
You too.